Talking with Ryan Chander,
Okay.
and Colonial Group saying that the Palmetto Pipeline is a bad deal for Georgia. And Ryan, we've heard all about pipelines recently, and somebody said, well, what's one more pipeline going to do? It could save us money, so it's not dangerously going over the rails with these antiquated tank cars.
Mm-hmm. What makes this one so different in Georgia is that you've got an $88 billion company that's asking our state government, the state of Georgia, to grant it the highly intrusive power of eminent domain to be able to take private land in order to build it. And they say that this is in the public benefit, but they're offering very little in the way of support for why this is actually in the public benefit.
There are a lot of people who are complaining. They've had some public meetings about this, and a lot of those private landowners have said, that this is going to ruin our property, no matter how much you pay us.
That's right. So, and at the end of the day, if Kinder Morgan is able to get the power of eminent domain, those landowners will have no say, regardless of whether or not they want to sell that land to Kinder Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's some important questions here, and there's a lot of mystery around the petroleum industry and how fuel really moves into Savannah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what our position is, and really what you're hearing from the public is, listen, you have an $88 billion company that wants this incredibly intrusive power. Shouldn't there be a high requirement of transparency for this corporation that's asking our government for the power to take private land?
Mm-hmm.
Kinder Morgan has been asked a number of basic questions to support why in the world this thing is in the public's interest. Why is it going to benefit Georgians? They say that it will promote competition that will that could lead to lower gas prices. They say that it will create up to 28 jobs. They say that this will be a second major source of supply into the marketplace. But when you ask them questions about it, they don't answer them. They hide behind confidentiality agreements. And to me, if you want public powers, you can't hide behind private confidentiality agreements.
Indeed. What's the alternative, shall we say? You're in Colonial Oil is in the oil business. Obviously, they would like things at a cheaper price for profit margins, or to pass the savings on to us.
Right. So here's how you have to look at how fuel gets to Savannah. Basically, what Kinder Morgan wants to do is build a toll road. Energy moves along toll roads. It's a really good analogy. You've got to get fuel to market, and there's different roads that you can use. Savannah is currently served by 2 toll roads. 75% of its volume comes via pipeline into North Augusta and Macon, and then is trucked into Savannah. 25% comes on a different toll road. That's from water into Savannah, the port there, and then it's trucked to the retail market. So you have pipe to truck and water to truck, right? Right now, the reason 75% comes from the pipeline is because that's the lowest cost toll road available. So for what Kinder Morgan is claiming to be true, that it could lower fuel prices, for that to be true, 2 things have to happen. One, their toll road that they're building has to be less expensive than the existing toll roads. They won't answer questions about that. Even if it is less expensive than the existing toll roads, it also has to have competition on it. They won't tell us who's shipping on it. They won't tell us who has access to it. So how can you evaluate whether or not there's even the potential to lower prices if they won't answer the basic questions about how there's going to be competition on this line, about whether it can lower cost of transporting product into our market? Another thing, the toll roads serving Georgia today are set up equally for everybody. It's a level playing field. So whoever ships, whether it's the little guy or the big guy, they pay exactly the same transportation cost. But this toll road's different. For some reason, they're setting it up with 4 different toll structures that depend on how much volume you ship. Why, Kinder Morgan, do you need 4 different tiers on this pipeline when all of the other pipelines that service our market, all of the other toll roads, charge 1 price?
Interesting.
They won't answer that question. So what would happen, Bill, what would happen if it winds up that there's only 1 or 2 very large oil companies that gain access to this new toll road, and they're able to undercut all of the existing competition in the marketplace? Wouldn't that sound like a monopoly to you? Wouldn't they be able at that point to force out the existing competition and then be able to do what they wanted with prices?
Ryan Chander of the Colonial Oil with us this morning. For folks who don't want this, how do they find it?
Okay, so there's two events coming up. The one that everybody needs to put on their calendars right now is April 21st at 5 p.m. in Richmond Hill. There is the one and only, your last chance to make your concerns heard to the public about this. The Georgia Department of Transportation is having a public hearing where the public will be able to offer their concerns and comments about this project. There's also a rally that has been scheduled for April 18th at FORSYTH Park on Earth Day out there. So I know there's going to be a number of people out there gathering together to show their concern.
Mm-hmm. All right. Ryan Chander with Colonial Oil. How does the pipeline affect Colonial Oil?
Well, it's got dramatic consequences for jobs, not just at Colonial, but in the state. And that's another thing that Kinder Morgan's not talking about. They like to tell half the story. They say it could create 28 jobs, but this toll road that they're building is going to take traffic off of the other toll roads serving Georgia. So they will create 28 jobs, but how many will be lost on for the people working the existing toll roads into Savannah? Who are they? They are probably, we estimate, over 200 jobs. Over 100 truckers will be affected. You have port workers that will be affected. You have U.S. merchant mariners that will be affected when this pipeline backs petroleum out of the market that's currently coming in through water. So there's a number of different jobs that are impacted here. So we add, there are 28 that may be added, but what about the cost? How many are going to be lost?
Why do we need another pipeline, right? I mean, it seems like we got a lot of them here already.
So this is the other argument that they make. They say that there's going to be another source, a backup source to ensure continuous supply. Right now, if a hurricane hit Savannah, right, and there was no supply on the water, there are 4 other supply terminals within 2 hours of our market: Charleston, North Augusta, Jacksonville, and Macon. Mm-hmm. So there are plenty of redundant sources of supply in our marketplace. So, another important thing that's not really, that they're not disclosing is they say that what they want to do is provide another big source of competition. But if you examine the amount of volume that they want to ship into each of these markets, they say they want to ship 25,000 barrels, up to 25,000 barrels into Savannah. Well, Savannah's entire demand today is only 20,000 barrels. So if your intention is really to create competition among the existing sources, why are you planning to ship more than the existing market can support?
Ryan, with all these questions that you brought up, and we've been reading the news stories, and a lot of people are showing up at these public meetings, and they have questions too. How did it get so far before it came to this, with Kinder Morgan being able to, it sounds like they have eminent domain in their pocket, and this is just for show.
Well, we believe the public's still got a chance to make their voices heard. And I think, unfortunately, there were expectations that this process would be transparent, that Kinder Morgan would answer the basic questions that the public ask about whether or not this is in the public benefit. But as hearing or meeting after meeting have gone by, and they've continued to refuse to answer these questions, I think the public is starting to get up in arms. And I think that's why you're seeing a real groundswell of support.
And we've also noticed, we were talking with Ryan Chander with Colonial Oil, and we've also noticed a lot of abuse of that eminent domain law when entire neighborhoods have been wiped out because the city decides a Walmart would give them more tax money.
Absolutely. And what if it was your backyard that this thing wanted to go through?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Ryan, thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank
Thank you.
you.